Hey everyone, we're pivoting away from invasive species in honor of a milestone we passed a little while ago, but one that's overdue all the same. We've done a couple of team runs here on the channel so far, so of course we gotta represent one of the best rivals in the entire franchise. Silver's team is pretty interesting, and it is dependent on what we, as the player, pick, and while we've done team runs in the past, this is the first one where we officially have a full team of 6. I'm super pumped for this. We've got a lot to go over, so strap in. Hoenn's full of water anyway, so you want to make sure you don't go overboard while I introduce y'all to Silver's team. Before that though, here's a quick rundown of the rules. We can only use Silver's team in battle. We are running on 0 IVs for added challenge. No items in battle, though held items are okay because held items were introduced in Generation 2. Team-based runs are always on set mode, except for when we play as Bruno. All of our mons have a non-stat boosting / penalizing nature, as natures are not in Generation 2. We have to reach the league with the movesets Silver has, which we'll get to in a second. We're allowed to teach TMs and the like until then, but mons can only learn TMs that are found in Gen 1 and 2, so no secret power, no bulk up, no aerial ace, etc. Hidden power I guess would be okay up until we finalize our movesets. However, hidden power for every single team member is going to be 30 base power fighting, so that's a hard pass. All mons are male because Silver's team is all male. This also makes the trainers with Attract a lot more annoying to fight. Our mons have a hard level cap equal to that of each gym leader's ace. This makes it so we have to use every single member of our team, and not just sweep the whole game with Alakazam and Gengar. For the league, our team's level cap is equal to that of Wallace's ace, which is 58. For the post-game, our team's level cap is equal to that of Steven's ace, which is 78. Our team will also receive an upgrade for Steven, an upgraded moveset Silver gets in the post-game after Mount Moon. More on that when we get to that point, though. Now, since we're playing in Hoenn, I figure we should appreciate this region's culture and embrace the water, so we're gonna run with the Totodile line. Here's what our moveset will look like for this run. We're using Silver's Mount Moon team moveset, which is post-game in Johto, and as you can see, it's not amazing. We have some excellent Pokemon, but some of the moves are just really bad. You can see right away why I went with feraligatr. Silver's water-type ace is a strong physical attacker, and while Slash is decent, feraligatr's other moves leave quite a bit to be desired, especially compared to Typhlosion and Meganium. Water Gun is at least useful for dealing with the random Numel and perhaps Camerupt trainers throughout the run, and for general cleanup, but this move is just so weak by the end of the game. Bite's not amazing either by the end, and because it's special in Gen 3, feraligatr is not going to be great with it. Scary Move is basically a dud since if speed is an issue, we just switch into something faster. Besides Disable, Alakazam is solid. We're starting the entire run with pre-evolved Pokemon, so having Aber at the start kinda sucks, but once we get the Thief TM from Slateport, which is Gen 2, then it's gonna be pretty easy to level up. Gengar suffers from pre-Gen 4 mechanics. If Shadow Ball used special attack, this would be pretty great. And although Shadow Ball is still a good move and Gengar receives the same type attack bonus from it, its physical attack is not that great. Curse and Confuse Ray are both very useful, with Mean Luck mostly as a dud. I mean, I guess we could use it in synergy with Curse and Confuse Ray in hopes that we stall an enemy out, but that's still kind of suboptimal in my opinion. Sneasel's moves aren't great either, and like Gengar, it can't take advantage of its typing. If Feint Attack was physical in this game, it'd be amazing, since Sneasel has pretty good physical attack, but all dark moves are special pre-Gen 4. That said, Screech is useful utility and has some synergy with Quick Attack, Fury Cutter, and the physical attacks of Sneasel's teammates. Speaking of Fury Cutter, since the Battle Frontier is post-game and we're required to have that move before we get to Hoenn's League, here's what I'm gonna do. In the Gen 2 Johto games, you receive the TM for Fury Cutter after beating the second gym, so I'll hack in Fury Cutter for Sneasel at any point after that, but he does need to have it on his moveset by the time we reach the league, and I'm not gonna just simply put it off until the last second either, cause that would be kinda lame. As for Sneasel itself though, besides Screech being great utility, Dark type's defensive qualities, as in being immune to Psychic type, is pretty fantastic, and our Sneasel has Keen Eye as well. And because Feint Attack is Sneasel's best move, it's the optimal Pokemon to lead off with for Pokemon who have Intimidate, like Sydney's Mightyena or Maxie's Mightyena. Golbat overall is pretty useful with same type Wing Attack, Confuse Ray, and decent speed, with Bite for a bit of coverage and a flinch chance. Leech Life might even be useful against Sydney in particular, who has multiple Grass Dark types. Magnemite and Magneton are both going to be amazing, although we're going to have to keep it as a Magnemite until level 38 because Magnemite learns Swift and Magneton does not. Steel Electric is pretty great if we're not fighting a ground type, and another reason why Scary Face is kind of a dud is because we have Thunder Wave. Paralysis does quarter a Pokemon's speed, and Swift is okay. It can bypass accuracy in case we can't switch into Sneasel. Sonic Boom is a bit of a dud, but at least it's a consistent 20 damage. That's a possible good cleanup move for the later game. Super useful early on, though. And for some added fun, since we're not playing as Silver himself, but with his team, we can add a fun little storyline to this run. Let's say that Silver, after being humbled by Lance and his rival, our character from Gen 2, his quest to better understand how to bond with Pokemon leads him to Hoenn, where Brendan becomes his pupil. Brendan/May, whomever we choose to play as, is from Johto after all, so there's no reason why Silver can't end up here. His pupil, our protagonist, has the second generation, get it, of the team he raised back in Johto. I kinda like these team runs since all of them have trainers who aren't from the regions in which we use them. You could say that it's an evolution of the Pokemon invasive species gimmick. Alright, I'll stop. Let's go whoop Roxanne real quick because our Totodile will have Water Gun, and in case we get bad luck, Magnemite can for sure defeat the Rock-type base. And we'll slap Magnemite with an Oran Berry just in case we have rock bottom luck. While we destroy Roxanne, we've got quite the theming for our team as far as names go, so let's go over that real quick too. Magnemite is named after Teo from RBY Pokemon Challenges, a pretty cool dude and an excellent content creator who has some pretty sweet Gen 1 themed ideas. D1D for the Abra line. He's another cool dude who makes pretty awesome solo content you'll definitely want to check out if you're into backports or later gens like Gens 5 and 6. Muklaham is a good buddy of mine, Zosi, and he picked Gengar for the name drop, so I made it so. Same with Botto and feraligatr. You might see him in the comments sometimes as Murphy's Law. He's a big fan of the Totodile line, which is another reason why I chose to use the Croc Water type. I needed a name for Zubat, and Hushi-san, I think I'm saying that right, let me know if I'm not, is a longtime fan of the channel who always leaves nice comments, and I enjoy reading quite a bit. So I figured what better way to shout them out than a good old-fashioned name drop in this subscriber milestone special. And Leon S. Sneasel, that's one of my OC names. I know, very original, but you might think this is inspired by Gen 8's champion, but it's actually not. I haven't played past Gen 7 yet, and I've been using this name for Sneasel since before Generation 8 was even in production. It's also the name of my Dungeons & Dragons bard, one of my favorite characters I've ever played as in a campaign. And that's all she wrote, both for the name explanation and paving the way for the fighting gym. Brawly's gonna be interesting. Now, we could just sweep with Kadabra, but we're not gonna do that. We're gonna lead off with Ghastly, put Machop to sleep, and then swap into Magnemite. Go for Metal Sound. It can miss, but thankfully it does not. Machop wakes up early, but Magnemite has served its purpose for the battle. The goal now is to outmuscle Machop with Water Gun because we can target its special defense. We even get Brawly to waste a healing item in the process, which is really awesome. Brawly's gonna send out Meditite next. We're gonna swap back into Ghastly here. It only knows Focus Punch as an attacking move, so we're gonna put it back to sleep, and we're gonna swap in Sneasel. A Pokemon you would never think to try in a fighting gym, but we're about to defeat this Meditite, no problem. Now, Meditite will constantly go for Focus Punch. If that hits, that's going to do way more damage than Sneasel's maximum health, probably many times over. But because Focus Punch is a 2-turn move, and it will break concentration if it takes any damage, this absolute hilarious type mismatch will emerge victorious against Meditite. Now, you see why I didn't go level up Abra into Kadabra to get confusion and sweep the gym, because this was way more fun. Also, we get a lot more experience by doing this. And now we win because we can swap Ghastly back, and Makuhita in Emerald does not have knockoffs, so it actually cannot harm Ghastly in any way, shape, or form, unless it gets access to Struggle, which it's not going to. Okay, now we're gonna go level up our Abra into Kadabra, and we're gonna get Thief from Slateport along the way, and we should be good. As we engage in this double battle, let's compare Silver starter Pokemon movesets to further show why I went this route, in addition to everything else I already said. Here's the Mount Moon movesets for all 3 of Silver's potential aces. Now, you probably saw the thumbnail and were like, yeah, he's definitely gonna pick Meganium. First off, I'm gonna ask you to stop dunking on my boy Meganium, alright? Bro did nothing wrong, and believe it or not, it actually has the best moveset out of what's available to us here. And not to mention, Meganium would destroy Wallace, Hoenn, and even Tate and Liza, as 3 out of their 4 Mons are weak to grass. Body Slam's amazing, and as far as Typhlosion, Flame Wheel isn't fantastic, but it can burn. Smokescreen's always useful to have. And I would gladly take Swift and Quick Attack over Water Gun and Scary Face. The fact that we are stuck with two more or less dud moves is just awful for what's supposed to be really, really fun to use. I mean, I love feraligatr, but like, man, this is just awful. And we don't get Slash until level 38, so we're actually going to be fighting a lot with Rage, believe it or not. And another thing that would make Meganium useful is the fact that it has Light Screen. The fact that we would be reducing special attack damage for 5 turns, clear across the board, would give us a lot of opportunities for some switch-out strategies. Now, Typhlosion would certainly struggle against the likes of Wallace and Hoenn. Roxanne for sure would have been tougher if we picked Cyndaquil as our starter. Watson has a pretty good team, and although it's not quite as effective as it would be in Ruby Sapphire, the fact that he retains Magneton means that Typhlosion would be an excellent answer for it. And as mentioned earlier, we will be upgrading our team once we get to the post-game and battle Steven, and believe me, Typhlosion, although it doesn't see much of a move upgrade, would be super useful against Steven's team. All three of these guys see a moveset update, but I think that feraligatr's overall is the least impressive of the bunch, but again, we'll touch up upon that when we get to it. Now, before we get to Watson, we have to battle May on Cycling Road. Typically in solo runs, she's pretty difficult, but with a full team, nah, she's gonna be pretty easy this entire run, I have to say. I wouldn't say free because we're trying to keep our level within a certain range, aka we don't want it to exceed the level cap of a gym leader's ace. But I wasn't sure which starter to give May. I thought Mudkip overall would be the most effective. It has Mud Shot, which will destroy Magnemite/Magneton for sure. Not only that, but we cannot deal super effective damage to Marsh Stomp. I think that Zubat/Golbat alone would be enough to handle Grovyle or Combuskin. Yeah, and hey, speaking of Marsh Stomp, by the time we do battle May, we do have Croconaw now, so it'll be kind of cool to watch Marsh Stomp and Croconaw duke it out. We gotta get there first, though, and it's a good thing that we learned Sonic Boom. Yeah, I actually just said that, because at least we get it out of the way early. Letting Magnemite faint for a free swap definitely is the strat there. Now, I think that Marsh Stomp is way better than Croconaw, but unfortunately May is not that great with this Pokemon because she likes going for Bide. We can drop its defense with Leer and then start laying in with Scratch. Well, actually no, we can go for Rage and we can start building up our attack every time we get attacked, which is exactly what happens here. Marsh Stomp overall might be the better Pokemon, but we were the better trainer here, thus Croconaw seizes victory. Now, next up is Watson. This fight's not going to be easy, there's no two ways about it. We don't have any good moves for this team, except for maybe Nightshade on our Ghastly. That'll be good for Magneton, but I do think that if we have any luck of getting through here, we have to drop Magneton with most of our team intact. Therefore, we are going to lead off with Sneasel, our strongest Pokemon right now. We outmuscle it with Quick Attack. Thankfully, it does not go for Self-Destruct. Now against Electrike, we're going to go for Screech, and because it connects, we can take it out with 2 quick attacks. Now we do end up paralyzed, but we have a Sherry Berry, and you'll notice that as Magneton comes out, we go for Taunt. That is a Gen 3 move, but we learn it naturally, so we are allowed to use that. Beyond that, there's not a whole lot we can do to Magneton, so we'll just use Feint Attack a couple of times before Sneasel goes down. We're going to send in Ghastly. Our chances of winning rest entirely upon its, I'd call them shoulders, but ball of gas, I guess? Now, thankfully, Hypnosis did hit on the first try, and we're just laying it with Nightshades. Not only are we dealing a lot of damage, but we're depleting Watson's Super Potions. Does wake up at the very end here, but doesn't matter. We have a Sherry Berry. We got full health for Manectric, his ace. Manectric then crits us with a critical Shockwave. Fear not, though. Let Kadabra save the day. Now with Psybeam, we're going to do great damage. Nowhere near a one-shot, but we don't need to, because although we get hit by Thunder Wave, we have a Sherry Berry, and we have Synchronize. We use Thief to steal the Citrus Berry, and we're paralyzed, but it's not the end of the world here. We both lose a turn to Paralysis. Kadabra powers through it and takes out the Manectric. That looked easy, but if Hypnosis didn't hit Magneton, that would have gone south real fast. But hey, now we can relax for a little bit, and we can get rid of Taunt. We're going to teach Dig to Sneasel. It's a great field move, and it's a Gen 1 move, although it has 60 base power. Sneasel can learn it, and it will be useful. And speaking of Sneasel and useful, I do think that anytime we have to battle Maxie or Archie, we're going to lead off with him because it's actually the perfect Pokemon to soak up Intimidate. Not only that, but Mightyena has Sand Attack, and Sneasel has Keen Eye. Absolutely perfect. Not only that, but with Screech, we can drop Mightyena's defense by 2 stages, so Intimidate really doesn't matter all that much. As long as we don't get critically hit, we should be able to outmuscle this thing. And although Mightyana's speed is decent, Sneasel is a lot faster, so we'll always be moving first unless we get hit by Scary Face, which this Pokemon has in a later fight. So, Maxie opts to send out Camerupt next. That's fine, we have a water type in the form of Croconaw, and funny enough, although its double super effective Water Gun is going to take 2 hits to take it out, fortunately, Maxie loves Tackle over same type Magnitude for some reason. Isn't this guy supposed to be smart? Last up is Zubat, a big downgrade from Ruby, where Maxie has a Golbat, which is great for us because although I was expecting Croconaw to faint, it survives with 3 health, because, I mean, we do outspeed it after all. Flannery is next, very different team from what we're used to in invasive species. Leading off with Numel is a free knockout for us, easy one-shot with Water Gun there. I'd have been floored if that thing survived. Out comes Slugma, and Water Gun obviously is not going to do enough for a one-shot. This thing does have Light Screen and Sunny Day, though. So what should be a simple Pokemon to knock out becomes pretty tough. We'll go for Bite as she uses a Hyper Potion. Great that she uses it here instead of on Torkoal or Camerupt. We do get poisoned by Smog, unfortunately, but since we're going for Rage, not a big deal. It's not going to use a Fire move on us. This will also stall out both Light Screen and Sunny Day. With the sun down, we'll switch to Water Gun, finish off Slugma very easily, and next out comes Camerupt. I don't think we're going to make it past this one for Croconaw, though. We're going to go for Water Gun, it's double super effective. That actually dealt really good damage. Unfortunately, though, Overheat does connect. Croconaw goes down, put in amazing work for this fight. We're going to go for a bit of a Hail Mary here and try to outmuscle Camerupt with Kadabra. As Flannery heals, Psybeam is doing pretty fantastic damage. Not only that, but Camerupt gets confused, hits itself, and we finished off. We got full health for Torkoal. This is awesome because we can use Thief to steal the White Herb off of it. We do just that, and not a moment too soon. It does go for Overheat and one-shots Kadabra, but Kadabra put in amazing work too. Next up, we're going to send in Magnemite and go for Thunder Wave. Metal Sound won't affect it because it has Clear Smoke as its ability. It also drops Torkoal's special attack by 2 stages, which is awesome. We're going to send in our boy Haunter, who is obviously faster. Would have been even without Thunder Wave. Go for Curse, and well, with half health, yeah, Overheat's taking it out for sure. Between Zubat and Sneasel, we're going to send Sneasel, and we got Dig, and this is going to have a great synergy with Curse. And you know, Torkoal's special attack has been absolutely gutted when it goes for a Body Slam against an Ice type. We tank a Body Slam, and Curse finishes it off. Man, Torkoal was pretty darn difficult. I love that teamwork that went into taking that thing down. It was the equivalent of a raid boss, man. Now, against Norman, I want you to check this out real quick, because, like, this just kind of blew my mind. Starts off just fine. Psybeam deals a little under half, we get hit by Teeter Dance. We do go for Thief and get hit by Facade, almost getting one shot, and then we end up, unfortunately, taking ourselves out. So far, so good, kind of, right? We're going to send in Croconaw, and I'm thinking, let's go for Scary Face. I'm thinking it's actually going to be faster, but it isn't. Spinda goes for Teeter Dance, once again, perfectly fine. So I'm like, alright, let's go ahead and swap into... I'm going to go for Sneasel, because I might go for Psybeam. That way we can just tank it completely. Nope, it just keeps going for Teeter Dance, despite the fact that we're swapping. So let me explain why this is so strange. The AI picks its move at the start of the turn, just like you do. So because we're afflicted by Teeter Dance's confusion, the AI should not be going for it, right? Well, this made me think of Gen 1's little quirk, where Gen 1, in this instance, it doesn't pick its move at the start of the turn like you do. It picks its move after you've picked your action. And that's exactly what's going on right here in this battle. For some strange reason, it ends up going for Psybeam here instead, which is what it normally should do. Now we're going to be attacking Spinda, and Spinda's going to be attacking us back, so you might think, okay, it must have run out of Teeter Dance. It doesn't have a lot of power points, right? I actually don't know how many power points Teeter Dance has. Well, hold that thought, because out comes Sneasel and Teeter Dance yet again. I have no explanation for this. I mean, yeah, I know I dunk on the fact that Gen 3 loves status, because it totally does. But the AI isn't supposed to act like this. It doesn't do this with any other trainer in this game. It doesn't do it with Norman's team in Ruby Sapphire either. I mean, he doesn't have Spinda in Ruby Sapphire, but that's besides the point. I don't know if this is some obscure quirk specific for Norman and Emerald, I mean. But, like, it's so weird, man. Is the AI just bugged out here, or is this actually a quirk specific for this battle? Feel free to let me know if you've got the answer, because this right here is pretty much a Gen 1 battle in Generation 3. It's like, I'm not even frustrated by this, it's just hilarious. Well, after these Gen 1 shenanigans are preventing us from some switch strategies, we actually get down to fighting, and believe it or not, Spinda, because it's paralyzed, uses Facade and takes out Magnemite. That was a bad play on my behalf. I forgot about Facade's little guts-like effect. And watch this, here we go again, Rage Teeter Dance, like what the heck, man? Okay, so I just checked, post editing, Teeter Dance has 20 power points. You know, with how weirdly broken Generation 3 is, I wouldn't be surprised if this move did make contact. Like, let's say like Spinda's doing little teeter dance, it's getting its groove on going, and it accidentally butt boops like Pikachu or something, and then contracts static as a result. Now that's the kind of status I want to see. Spinda using hip-hop keto to confuse Pikachu and then getting paralyzed because it bumped into it. Someone's gonna make like a fan art of that now or something. How would Spinda say, yo, this is hip-hop keto? Okay, we're getting off track here. Let's get back to the fight. Well, even with Spinda's little Gen 1 shenanigans aside, this battle is, as you'd probably imagine, pretty difficult. Norman's team in Emerald is pretty darn good. We have a level cap of 31 because his ace, Slacking, is level 31, and it's doing a pretty fine job mopping up the floor with us. Being the normal gym, we don't have a super effective move, and our attacking move from Haunter won't actually affect any of the Pokemon at all either. But believe it or not, it only took 4 tries before this attempt right here, leading off with Kadabra. Same thing as the first time around. Psybeam Facade trade-off we're going to swap out. And Psybeam here actually makes sense. It was trying to finish us off. I should have swapped in Sneasel there. Oh, you thought we were going to win that attempt, did you? Nope. But yeah, for real, leading off with Kadabra is the play here, and believe it or not, we get a great damage range on Spinda two-shotting it. We leave it out for Vigoroth, and obviously we're going down to a Slash. When I send out Magnemite, I go for Thunder Wave, hoping it stays paralyzed, and unfortunately, well, I miss Metal Sound, and Facade is enough to take us out. Well, there goes that big brain strat. Good job, me. And I think that's going to prompt another reset. We're going to need Magnemite's bulk for a bit later in the fight, I think. Alright, in this attempt, we're going for Psybeam, and then we're swapping out. And we're about to see some Teeter Dance shenanigans again, but not for too long as it goes for Facade, as it should. We're going to go for Hypnosis, Coin Flip, and our favorite falls asleep. While it's snoozing, we're going to lay in with Psybeam. Norman's going to waste a Hyper Potion. Perfect, we take it down, no problem. We're going to send Magnemite back out to deal with Vigoroth. I really do think we need Metal Sound for this fight, and fortunately it does hit before we go down. Thanks to Metal Sound, we're going to swap Kadabra back in, and Psybeam now one-shots. Out comes Slacking, swapping into Haunter, tanks Facade because it doesn't get hit by it, and we're going for Curse right away. We're going to swap in Sneasel, who tanks Feint Attack, but unfortunately as we go for Screech, 15% chance to miss there. And once again, we're going to engage in some good old-fashioned swap strategies here. While swapping generally is the safe strat, Slacking does like going for counter sometimes, so as we send out Sneasel right here, I go for Quick Attack thinking, okay, it's gonna go for counter. Nope, Facade, and it one-shots. That's unfortunate. Slacking still falls, and last is Linoon, another Pokemon who can't harm Haunter at all. But between Belly Drum and Curse, we should be good. I opt for Golbat hoping it's faster, it's not, and it gets one-shot by Slash. We're going to throw Croconaut in there, go for Water Gun, but it's faster and one-shots us with Headbutt. All that's left is Kadabra, but Curse takes out Linoon, and we win. You know, I can't say that this run hasn't been interesting. It's been one of the most fun runs I've done here on the channel. As much as I love the invasive species runs and the other solo runs I've done, the team runs to me generally are just more fun. I like the level cap restriction because it requires us to use our teammates equally, and it's really fun to see how some trainers' teams actually bounce off of one another. Now, the Weather Institute rival battle is pretty trivial. Even in solo runs, this is pretty simple, so I'm not going to talk much about this fight, although I will say that Sneasel will faint here, and that's by choice because I wanted to send in feraligatr. Yeah, we have a feraligatr now. Just to clean up with Water Gun, all that good stuff, and so it can fight Marshtomp with full health without having to swap in. I gotta say though, feraligatr's back sprite is a little weird. Anyway, on turn 1, we are faster than Marshtomp, so we're gonna go for Rage, and it's gonna slow us down with Mud Shot. This is actually pretty good, because we are moving second, and our Rage has already started to build up. By the time we select it again, it'll be stronger than before we selected the move. I gotta say though, Marshtomp is putting up a heck of a fight here. It brings feraligatr all the way to 6 health before we take it down with Rage. I've really been enjoying Rage strats too this run. Next up is the Flying Gem. I'm not too worried about this battle. We do have an Electric type, and although her Altaria, also her ace, has Earthquake, the rest of our team should be good enough to defeat her on the first try, I hope. Although Winona does add a Tropius to her team, she does lead off with Swablu instead of Swellow, so a bit of a downgrade there. I think that leading with Sneasel here is the play, and I think that Sneasel can just straight up overpower Swablu. The only thing we have to watch out for is the fact that Swablu has Perish Song. I mean, yeah, we can swap out and that's not a problem, but we really want to avoid doing that. Swapping it would just give Winona a free turn to do whatever she wants. As for the rest of the team, well, I think Magnemite for Pelipper would be the play. Everything else, though, we're going to just figure it out as we go. Starting off with Screech on Swablu. We're going to take it down with Quick Attack and then swap out as she sends out Skarmory. And then I realized Magnemite is definitely the answer for Skarmory because it can do virtually nothing to us. Now, Swablu did set up Safeguard, and I had kind of forgotten about that, so Thunder Wave was a misclick. Even with that and our accuracy being dropped, it's no problem at all. Due to our typing, Altaria comes out next. We're going to swap in Haunter as she goes for Earthquake, then put it to sleep, and then because she has Natural Cure, out comes Tropius. We can put it to sleep and take it out with Nightshade, no problem. And that's a wrap for Hypnosis because we're now going to replace it with Confuse Ray. Now, I got a little bit greedy here and wanted to get some XP for Haunter fighting Pelipper, but I forgot that Pelipper has Aerial Ace, so that was a bad idea. And I'm hesitating on Magnemite because I don't want to swap in when Altaria comes out and get hit by Earthquake, but it does cost us Sneasel. And the funny thing, too, is that I'm like, oh yeah, I have Golbat. I wasn't thinking about it at the time, but watching this and editing, I'm like, why didn't I just go with Magnemite and then send out Golbat? Golbat does deal a bit of damage to Altaria and slips in Confuse Ray. We let out a Future Sight as Kadabra goes down. However, we do have a bit of a lifesaver here in the form of Scary Face, the move I said was a complete dud. Turns out to be messing with Winona's AI a bit here because she's slower. But thanks to that, Magnemite KOs Altaria and we win by the skin of our teeth. Yeah, that should have been way easier than I made it on myself because, again, I should have had Magnemite deal with Pelipper, and then when Altaria got sent out, switch over to Golbat, which would have just tanked Earthquake because I wouldn't have gotten hit by it at all. I'm kind of shocked that we beat that on our first try with how poorly I was playing that battle. I always say in my runs that I don't consider myself to be a great Pokemon player, and that battle there kind of punctuates that point, but the thing about these videos is that every video is a learning experience. You get better and better with each one, whether it's from a production value standpoint or a player skill point. I'm also a lot more used to the solo runs to the team runs, although I do prefer them, I'm definitely not as good at them. And by less good, I mean I'm just slightly more of an amateur, I guess you could call it. So we're going to be battling Maxie, and then followed up with Aqua Admin Matt. Both of these battles are pretty irrelevant, so let's use this time to discuss Tate and Liza. Now, besides Norman, we've had a pretty solid performance for Silver's team here. However, Tate and Liza's team, I think, is going to be the hardest by far up to this point. In Pokemon Emerald, they have two more members of the team, Claydol and Xatu, both of whom they lead off with, and both of whom have pretty good movesets. Two of our teammates are weak to Psychic, so they're going to be pretty hard to use here. Magneton is double weak to Earthquake, Alakazam is super frail, but we only have to KO Solrock and Claydol because Sneasel is immune to Psychic, and neither Xatu nor Lunatone can damage Sneasel. I mean, Xatu could with enough Confuse Ray luck, but I mean directly damage. That said, oh boy is this a lot easier said than done. In our first attempt, I'm thinking of leading off with Magneton and Gengar. We swap into Golbat, anticipating Earthquake from Claydol. We go for Shadow Ball from Gengar, dealing great damage. And then Xatu one-shots Gengar with Psychic. Oh dear. And because Claydol moves last, Earthquake, while it will miss Golbat, feraligatr is taking full damage from that. Now on our next turn as we pick our moves, unfortunately Xatu is fastest of us all, and just like that for feraligatr, it's Goodnight Irene. Golbat moves second. It does take out Xatu, which is good. I was actually kind of hoping that Claydol would go for Ancient Power, but it goes for Earthquake and almost one-shots Alakazam. Before it goes down, we're going to have Alakazam send off a Future Sight. We also crit Claydol with Bite, which is awesome. Alakazam does go down, and I'm thinking about who to send out next. We're going to take a chance here with Magneton. Yeah, I know, 4 times weak to Earthquake. This is going to go great. And I think it's all or nothing here. We're going to have Golbat go for Confuse Ray on Claydol, while we go for Thunder Shock on Solrock. Probably should have gone for Thunder Wave instead, though. Doesn't hurt to test out damage, though, and that damage is pitiful. The things are looking real good here once we hit Claydol with Bite, and I'm like, oh yeah, Swift is totally going to finish off Claydol. Nah, it didn't. Sonic Boom would have actually been better there. Man, my heart sank when I saw that damage. And I mean, something cool does happen here. Future Sight ends up hitting and taking out Claydol, which is nice, but we're in a bit of trouble here. This was a good first attempt, but ultimately we fell. The key to winning this battle is going to be who we decide to lead off with, so this is going to take a couple of tries to figure out who is best to start the fight with. We definitely want Sneasel for last, because as long as we can KO Claydol and Solrock, we automatically win, regardless of the fact whether or not Xatu or Lunatone KO the rest of our team. It's a tough call, but I'm thinking that we should actually start off with 2 Pokemon who can be hit by Earthquake, and then maybe swap into one with Levitate. Feraligatr seems to be the one who is best by far at tanking Earthquake. Unfortunately for Feraligatr, however, Solrock not only has Solar Beam, but Sunny Day, so Solar Beam becomes a 1-turn move. That said, I do think we need to lead off with it, and we're going to lead off with Gengar as well. Thing is, we're not going to swap out into Golbat. We're going to swap into Alakazam here so that it can tank Psychic. And we're going to target Xatu so that Tate and Liza will spend a turn to heal it. This will give Feraligatr a chance to deal damage and give us a free swap in for our second Mon. Magneton slips in a Thunder Shock before going down to Claydol's Earthquake. Although we wouldn't mind Xatu being around for the long term, it's just too dangerous to keep around, so we're going to have Gengar finish it off. Feraligatr deals a bit of damage before going down. Golbat and Gengar are going to focus fire on Claydol, but turns out 1 Shadow Ball is all it took, and, well, we've already won this fight. Oh, you think this is hyperbole? You think I'm kidding around? No, we still have Sneasel hanging out here. Because by the time Gengar goes down, so too does Solrock, and yet Lunatone can target Golbat and take it out. That's perfectly fine, but Lunatone cannot damage Sneasel in any way, shape, or form. Unless it gets access to Struggle, which it's obviously not going to do. And remember when I said I wasn't going to wait till the last second to hack in Fury Cutter? Well, as much as it sucks to remove Dig because it's great for the field, nah, Fury Cutter for the Psychic Gym was perfect. Just a reminder that we cannot get Fury Cutter until the post-game, and we need it before we get to the league. So we're treating that little hack-in like using a TM. And going by Gen 2, we get the TM for Fury Cutter after defeating Bugsy, the second gym leader. So we're just making like we've had the TM in our bag all along. And I mean, it's Fury Cutter before it got buffed. It's a pretty terrible move. Well, Sneasel is the linchpin to that battle's success, and it was so awesome we're actually going to bring it along for the double battle against Maxie and Magatha Admin Tabitha. I'm actually surprised they got that name right on the first try. I called Aqua Admin Matt, Aqua Admin Archie like 3 times during voiceover. It was pretty funny. We got a battle alongside Steven Stone. Oh boy, I hope this doesn't come full circle later in the run. So we have Sneasel, Feraligatr, and Golbat. I think they're the best 3 for this fight. Feraligatr does a fantastic job not only taking out Camerupt, but it's fairly bulky and does a pretty good job tanking damage here. And what's pretty awesome is that Steven's Metang does have light screen, so that's going to help us tank special attacks even better. It does end up going down and Steven sends out Aggron, his worst Pokemon, because of course it has to be that way. But funny enough, it ends up surviving, and Feraligatr does too by the skin of its teeth. Now, mind you, I actually like Aggron a lot. It has a really cool design, but it's just really bad in Generation 3. Hey, speaking of things that are bad, it's Archie. He's just Maxie, but instead of Camerupt, he has Sharpedo and is way easier. Very amazing. Moving on to the next fight. Hoenn replaces Wallace here in Emerald as the Water Gym leader. We're going to lead off with Alakazam, and we're going to one-shot Love Disc. I think it's super frail. No, actually we don't. We get hit by a track. That is Zero IV's live action, my friends. But it's also Love Disc. We're going to send in Feraligatr to deal with the likes of Crawdon. With Slash, we should be alright. There's not a whole lot that Crawdon can do to us. I mean, case in point, Crab Hammer ended up doing, what, 30 damage to us? Feraligatr does bring Whiscash to below half health before going down. We're sending Alakazam back out and finishing it with Psychic. Celio brings him to 49 before going down to 2 Psychics. For Kingdra, it's Psychic, Double Team, and as we continue to battle Hoenn, it kind of comes full circle here with our alternate Brendan's little storyline here being Silver's pupil. Hoenn's ace, Kingdra, is also a Johtonian Pokemon, and although Kingdra does pretty well by taking out Magneton, once Curse gets into effect by Gengar, it's game over. And it even hits itself in confusion. Awesome finish. Now, at the start of the Hoenn battle, you saw me go for Future Sight before we took out Love Disc, knowing that Crawdon would come out being part Dark-type. Now, that might seem silly because Future Sight is a Psychic move. Dark-type, as we know, is immune to Psychic, so what gives? You're gonna see something like that here, that's why I bring this up. Although Sneasel has the type advantage on Gardevoir in this battle, Gardevoir, after some Calm Minds, will send off a Future Sight, and although Sneasel does its darndest to take it out with Feint Attack, unfortunately, again, it's special in Gen 3. Future Sight not only affects Sneasel but takes it down. That's because in Generation 3, Future Sight is a typeless move. It ignores type immunities just like Nightshade and Seismic Toss in Gen 1. Other than that, Wally, no problem. If you want to see Wally's team in action, I did a 2024 end of the year special in Pokemon Fire Red and the post game with Wally's team and moves if you want to check that out. So after tons of training, and real quick before we start, because Sneasel's moveset leaves a little to be desired for grinding, any optional trainers, I had Sneasel fight almost all of them to keep its level up. And that's who we're leading off with against Sydney. Turn 1 we go for Screech, it hits, Sand Attack is blocked by Kenai. The second one does miss and we take a double edge for about half health. Because of that Screech miss, we're gonna have to swap out, and feraligatr feels like the right call here. Double Edge doesn't do all that much. Slash, on the other hand, does a fair bit to Mightyena. Now, because we KO'd Mightyena with a water type, Sydney is gonna send out Cacturne perfectly fine. We go for Scary Face, and it goes for Leech Seed, so we can swap out for free here, basically. And Scary Face, although Golbat speed gets dropped, thanks to the speed drop on Cacturne, we're still faster. We can go for Wing Attack and get a very easy one-shot there. Not surprising being 10 levels higher. Interestingly enough, he sends out Shiftry next. It does have extra sensory, so I guess that's why he sent it out. Wing Attack deals just enough damage to put Shiftry into full restore range, which is good, means he's going to use it here. We bring Shiftry to red, we get hit by Swagger, and we do end up hitting ourselves in Confusion, dealing about 40, so we're going to swap out here just for safety. And even better as we swap out, because Steel resists Psychic type, extra sensory did very little to Magneton. Next up is Crawdaunt, which is a very silly decision because we have Thunder Shock, same type attack bonus and are 8 levels higher, that's a very easy one-shot. Last is Absol, we're going to go for Thunder Wave just for safety. It immediately pays off, so on turn 2 we go for Thunder Shock, he goes for Swords Dance. My thought process with Swift was we can get a 3-shot, but I forgot about the Citrus Berry. The ace of every Hoenn Elite Four member does have one of those. The Champion's ace, Milotic, does as well. But yeah, Sydney, nothing to write home about. We match up very well against him, and I don't think Phoebe's gonna be that bad either. Bayonet does hit pretty hard, but besides that, I'm not too concerned about anything else. Now, what I'd like to do is use Gengar for the bulk of the fight here. However, all of her team has a super effective move against Gengar because Ghost type is super effective against itself. So it's just gonna boil down to when we send out Gengar and have Gengar potentially sweep, although at the same time, Bayonet with its really high attack stat will almost certainly one-shot Gengar with Shadow Ball. I don't see Alakazam getting that much use in this fight, but everything else that we have on our team I think should be okay. Now with Sneasel, we're just gonna lay in with Screech, and it's a little bit annoying because Dusclops loves going for Protect. It has pressure, but Screech has 40 power points, so don't care much about that. I decide to swap into Gengar, and we end up, of course, getting hit by Confuse Ray. Won't be that much of a problem if we don't hit ourselves, so naturally, we do hit ourselves. And we're gonna double down on that by hitting ourselves, and Gengar faints, and I think we're gonna just take a reset here. I do think that leading with Sneasel is the play here because Screech plus Shadow Ball will take out Dusclops from full health for sure. We'll keep Gengar in, who's afflicted with Curse anyway, and Shadow Ball almost one-shots Bayonet, but we get taken out easily. We can send Sneasel back out and outmuscle Bayonet with Feint Attack. We get brought to about half health before it goes down. The second Dusclops goes for Rock Slide, that's good night, Irene. It is softened up just enough for feraligatr to go for a bite, and it takes about 31 damage before taking out the second Dusclops. Bayonet 2 slips in Thunderbolt before going down to 2 bites. Feraligatr and Sableye trade Shadow Ball and Bite before Feraligatr goes down. In Ruby Sapphire, this Sableye has Psychic. It doesn't seem to have it here because Golbat overpowers it pretty quickly. Next up is Glacia, the Ice-type trainer, and I think it's in our best interest to lead off with Alakazam. I gotta say, too, after Roxanne, our Abra line has been exceptionally useful this run, so hey, D1D, hope you appreciate your name drop on such an awesome Pokemon. And that awesomeness isn't getting old anytime soon. Cilio goes down to 2 Psychics as it sets up Hail. As Glalie 1 comes out, Alakazam gets crit by Icy Wind, but still overpowers it with 2 Psychics. Glalie 2 comes out, we go for Psychic, and it takes us out with Shadow Ball. Feraligatr comes in, finishes it with Slash. We're laying it with Slash and trying to power through a track. We don't get stalled out for too long, but we are at 62 health by the time Walrein comes out. Not good. We bring Walrein to just over half as we get taken out by Surf. It's at just the perfect amount of health for Magneton to come in and sweep up with Thunder Shock. So the odd-numbered Elite Four members were first tries. Will Drake take more than one because Phoebe did? Well, only one way to find out. Now, I'm thinking that because he leads off with Shell Gun, which could be pretty annoying with Rock Tomb, lowering speed, let's go ahead and lead off with Feraligatr, a fairly slow Pokemon itself. If nothing else, it should be able to overpower Shelgon once Shelgon stops spamming Protect and chaining them and getting them off. And it's looking like that's going to be the case here, but then when Drake heals and I'm seeing how much damage we're dealing, I'm like, are you kidding me? Feraligatr got defeated by Shelgon. Well, it's low enough for Alakazam to get sent in and finish it off easily. Flygon does hit Alakazam with Earthquake before going down to 2 Psychics, but we only have 2 health left. Psychic deals great damage to Salamence. We send out Magneton, survive Flamethrower surprisingly, and paralyze it with Thunder Wave. After slipping in a Thunder Shock and going down to Rock Slide, we're going to send out Golbat. We confuse Salamence, it hits itself. Golbat, surprisingly, does tank a Rock Slide before Salamence takes itself out due to confusion. We do confuse Altaria, but to no avail, and we bring it below half before Golbat goes down. This Altaria is pretty dangerous. It has Dragon Breath, and it can paralyze, which does happen here. Not only that, but our confusion luck isn't great, and although Altaria ultimately does succumb to Gengar, 14 health remaining for Kingdra, yeah, not loving it. I mean, we do have Sneasel remaining, but Sneasel's not overpowering Kingdra, unfortunately. Not with this moveset, anyway. So it looks like odds were pretty good. Evens, not so much, although we're not so mismatched that we have to go back and redo it or anything. Now, we just gotta change up our strategy here, though I am confident that leading off with Feraligatr is the right call. We just need to get a bit better luck with Slash. Thing is, too, that Shelgon going for Rock Tomb isn't the worst thing ever, because Rock Tomb in Generation 3 has 80 accuracy. It's a 1 in 5 chance to miss. We're definitely going to need Alakazam to take out Kingdra, and we're also going to need Alakazam to take out Salamence. Alakazam is going to be pulling a lot of weight in this fight, but I think I've got this one figured out. Here, allow me to show you. Shelgon loves going for Protect on turn 1, and on turn 2 we do get hit by Rock Tomb. We're going to go for Scary Face. This will trick the AI into continuing to go for Rock Tomb, or at least preferring it. Well, Shelgon got that critting out of its system, so let's have a real attempt here. We will need a critical hit from Slash if we want to overpower Shelgon. Yeah, it's kind of funny that Shelgon can overpower Feraligatr. Well, definitely this one. Certainly not an optimized Feraligatr, and hey, would you look at that, right on cue, critical Slash. We're looking good. Against Altaria, we're going to go for Scary Face until we faint again to trick the AI into going for Dragon Dance, which is a double-edged sword because Altaria is getting stronger too. Couple that with a Thunder Wave from Magneton, and we can Thunder Shock our way to victory, well, at least to the next Pokemon. Full Restore is actually perfect here because Full Restore will cure the paralysis, which we can reapply, but it will not get rid of the speed drops from Scary Face. Now we know that Magneton can survive Flamethrower. We're going to go for Thunder Wave, now we're faster. And we crit with Thunder Shock before going down. That was awesome. We can swap into Alakazam and go for Psychic and take out Salamence. Very nice. Well, I was thinking about Kingdra, but out comes Flygon, so I think Alakazam, although we'll take out Flygon, is Dunyan Rings. Psychic brings Kingdra to half before Alakazam goes down. And with Gengar, we're going to slap on Curse and pretty much win the fight here. Even if Gengar got KO'd, Kingdra would not outlast the rest of the team. Alright, all that's left is the Pokemon Champion before we get to go to the post-game. Wallace is a Water-type champion, an appropriate typing for a Hoenn, and leading off with a Pokemon as powerful as Wailord with Water Spout, a move that deals more damage the more health a Pokemon has. Combine that with Wailord's massive HP stat, yeah, we most certainly want to lead off with Feraligatr here. Because even in the likely event we get outsped by Wailord, Water Spout will not one-shot Feraligatr. I think we're 100% going to need Alakazam to take out Tentacruel. Overall, though, I think we match up pretty well, so let's try it. Turn 1, we go for Slash as Wailord sets up Rain Dance. I'm surprised that we're faster. We crit with Slash, get hit by Double Edge Wallace Heals, and we actually are able to outmuscle Wailord, if you can believe it. Good job, Feraligatr. And out comes Ludicolo. I should have swapped into Golbat, but my mindset was I'll take a free swap because I probably won't need Feraligatr for the rest of the fight. Ludicolo's no problem at all. However, Milotic being faster than Magneton is a problem. I think about Alakazam, but then I remember Milotic has phenomenal special defense. That wasn't a great idea either. As we send in Gengar, we go for Curse, and funny enough, Shadow Ball does get a special defense drop, too little too late there. With Curse in effect, we'll send out Sneasel, and that should change up who Wallace sends out. Well, Tentacruel is a terrible matchup for us because we cannot drop its defense with Screech, and our attacks are just way too weak. And although Golbat could outmuscle Tentacruel, that just doesn't happen here. Confuse Ray is not going our way. Okay, so we approach that battle in a pretty wrong way. Now, as we go through failed attempts here, I do figure out that yes, we should leave feraligatr alive, because if nothing else, it can tank a hit for us, maybe Hyper Beam from Gyarados or something. But since we're leading off with feraligatr, Wallace will always send out Ludicolo, and we know that Golbat will take it out lickety-split, so that's a free 2 right there, because feraligatr almost certainly will always defeat Wailord. I'm thinking that feraligatr might actually help us out against Milotic as well. It's got good special defense. Physical defense, not so much. After a small handful of tries, I can confirm that feraligatr is the best starting option, and to do what we were doing before, just lay in with Slash, deal as much damage as possible. Crit fishing is also pretty sweet. I did try once with Magneton, got outsped in one shot, so yeah. Now we're gonna swap into Golbat and take care of Ludicolo, no problem. And even better, we dodge Leech Seed as we take it out with a second wing attack. As Wallace sends out Milotic, we're sending feraligatr back out to tank that Ice Beam. We're gonna go for Scary Face, take a bit of damage, we're gonna follow up with Slash, and then we ultimately get taken down. We're gonna send out Magneton to Thunder Wave Milotic and lay in with a weak Thunder Shock before going down to 2 Surfs. And check this out, out comes Alakazam, we go for Psychic, get a special defense drop, loses his turn to Paralysis, and the follow-up Psychic takes it down. Next up is Tentacruel, we trade Sludge Bomb and Psychic, but we overpower Tentacruel because we're faster. Out comes Whiscash, we almost one-shot it with the crit, but almost just isn't enough. Now, I think about it for a moment, but we're going to send out Sneasel, because we want to drop Whiscash's defense as much as we possibly can. It does waste turns with Amnesia, and although we unfortunately aren't able to KO Whiscash with Sneasel, we do our job and do quite a bit of damage with Quick Attack. Sensing a brother in need, Gengar tags in and finishes Whiscash with Shadow Ball. Well, out comes Gyarados, and unfortunately for Gyarados, it doesn't seem to have a water move. I mean, I checked this thing's moveset, it says it has Surf, but like, it's not going for it. No, instead Dragon Dance and hitting yourself in confusion to finish yourself off is the strat. Well, that victory was equal parts fluke and awesome. I gotta say, that was an absolutely incredible run, and we're not done yet because we are gonna battle Steven. We're gonna talk more about our upgraded movesets and all that good stuff here in just a sec, but we gotta let this team just flex itself in the Hall of Fame here, along with our trainer, Alt Brendan, pupil of Silver. I'm gonna let the announcer take over, if you would, sir.
Some may say that it was luck that helped this team to advance. That doesn't matter to me, because the bottom line is that this team won. They just better keep in mind that luck works in many mysterious ways. Some may say that it was luck that helped this team to advance.
I couldn't agree more with that. So as the credits roll, let's talk about how we're going to prepare for Steven. We're going to battle the Elite Four over and over and over again. And if we get sick of the Elite Four, we can always grind in Victory Road, and the other part of Meteor Falls we can access with Waterfall has much higher level Pokemon. So let's go ahead and show our upgraded team. Yeah, that's right, we get Crobat, and we get generally much better moves. The fact that we get Reflect over Disable is pretty nice. Also, again, for comparison's sake, here's Typhlosion and Meganium's post-game moveset we would have access to. Yeah, Meganium with Safeguard would trap Steve and Skarmory into Toxic Looping, and Fire Blast would destroy about half of this team. Also, just know I used our rare candies to hit level 78. This is as strong as we can possibly be. Magneton versus Skarmory is an obvious choice. Now, he's going to send out Aggron next because we have Magneton, so we're actually going to swap into Crobat here to tank Earthquake. We're going to go for Confuse Ray. Aggron hits itself, and we're going to swap into feraligatr now. Thanks to a Thunder Mist, we take it down with one Surf. With Cradilly next, let's go back to Crobat here. Giga Drain does pitiful damage. After applying Toxic and surviving Ancient Power, we're going to go and swap Magneton back in. Between Giga Drain and Ancient Power, there's very, very little that Cradilly can do to Magneton. Still, Giga Drain's damage isn't too bad, and unfortunately, Steven does heal. Not only that, but with Thunder Misses, we eventually get hit by Ancient Power, and Cradilly gets the Omni boost. Due to absolutely rotten confusion luck, we faint. We send out Crobat, miss the first Toxic, get confused, but the second one does stick. Now, because Cradilly has full health, we'll go and send out feraligatr. We'll swap back into Crobat, take a little damage off of Giga Drain, and Toxic is starting to tick now. We hit Cradilly with Confuse Ray, it hits itself. Crobat has the Shell Bell, by the way. Steven heals, we missed Toxic, but we hit on the follow-up. And it's right around here, we're going to engage in some good old swap strats. We've been kind of doing that against Cradilly anyway because it only has 10 power points to attack with. I mean, it does have Confuse Ray, but that's not a direct damage move. With all of its power points stalled out, our Alakazam's at full health by the time the next Pokemon comes out. We set up Reflect before Metagross takes us out with a critical Shadow Ball. Thanks to Torrent, Surf does pretty good damage, but Psychic easily finishes us off. Alright, go Crobat, go Confuse Ray, let's hope for the best. Well, it hit itself, that's good. We go for a Bite, no flinch, but it hits itself, and then Steven heals, unfortunately. Gotta reapply Confuse Ray. Come on, Sneasel, I believe in you, buddy. Now, unfortunately, we can't battle Steven with all 6 of our members. I decided to bench Gengar because Gengar literally doesn't have any new moves. It's why we beat the champion, so Gengar deserves some rest and relaxation anyway. So leading off with Feraligatr, we set up Rain Dance, Tank Aerial Ace as we swap back in, and Thunder is obviously gonna one-shot. And Aggron, I was not expecting that. We're gonna swap into Crobat, making Metagross waste Earthquake. Sneasel tanks Psychic, it's exactly why we have him here. Magneton tanks Meteor Mash. Crobat's back out, we go for Confuse Ray. Unfortunately, Metagross does not hit itself. Swapping back into Sneasel, this time Metagross does hit itself. We swap to Feraligatr to tank Meteor Mash, but it hits itself. We're going to set up Rain Dance. We trade Surf and Psychic before going down. Thanks to Rain Dance, Magneton KOs Metagross. As Claydol comes out, we're going to swap in Crobat and stick Toxic before going down to Ancient Power. Out goes Sneasel, Screech, Light Screen. Screech, Earthquake, Leftovers. Sneasel does well, but not well enough. How incredible would that have been if Sneasel actually KO'd Claydol? With Cradilly out, we're going to paralyze it with Thunder Wave. And well, we saw this song and dance the first time around with us constantly hitting ourselves in confusion, and the Thunder damage is slowly becoming undone by Ingrain. We do snap out and Thunder starts hitting, and although we deal great damage, it's not enough. Ooh, maybe it is. We'll swap out to Alakazam, it's still paralyzed. Oh, I think we got this. With our Moldo last, it's all or nothing. We're just gonna go for Psychic, and we do survive Ancient Power, so yep, we got this. That was absolutely incredible. I was still kind of testing out strategies. I wasn't expecting to win on the second try. Oh, that was a good time, man. It's like all good things, you just hate to see it come to an end. I really hope you guys enjoyed that run and enjoyed that subscriber milestone special. On screen now are some runs you can look forward to in the future. Pokemon Emerald with 1 Misdreavus, Pokemon Crystal with 1 Tyrogue, Pokemon Yellow with 1 Farfetch'd. And yes, you're reading that correctly, Pokemon Fire Red with the only Metronome. And our next invasive species run is Pokemon Fire Red with 1 Trapinch. That'll be fun. Thanks again for watching, guys. Take it easy.